If you don't, you'll be eaten in your sleep.
Professor Gadget, at your service, mate. That is but one trick.
That might be a little unstable. Oh, I'm a nice enough guy. Someone's made me quite randy here in this Parliament Hall.
In this episode, some of our discourse concerns orthodox theology and praxis. While we are continually committed to exploring these topics with discretion and care, it is crucial to emphasize that none of our discussions constitute formal teaching or carry any authoritative weight whatsoever. If you have questions or concerns about any aspect of the Orthodox faith, please talk to your priest. Our podcast serves as a platform for open dialogue and exploration, but personal spiritual discernment and, most of all, guidance from a spiritual father are paramount.
It is later than you think.
Russell Brand here, and I've just been baptized into the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, mate.
Yeah, baby. We're
My
the Jokers.
voice-
It's Joker night.
It's Joker night.
And that's why the lights are the way that they are. A lot's changing around here. Ever since the Super Chats started coming in, we can afford these $1,000 light setups.
Exactly.
With the green, the purple, the so on.
Etc.
Because Joker has been so hot since the release of The Dark Knight.
And it only got... We thought it was going down. We thought it was definitely trending down, but then The Dark Knight Rises came out, and the Joker trends again. He comes right back up. And just when you think he's going to die...
It ain't your grandpa's Batman.
Exactly.
It's a Batman for the modern era.
If you haven't had a chance, busy schedule, working long days, even longer nights, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, if you catch my drift.
You should pencil in some time in your scheduler and see if you can't sit down, bucket of popcorn,
Bucket of chicken.
your best girl by your side, arm around her neck,
Yeah.
hands around her neck.
I got my best girl by my side, making me a complete man. I found you, wherever I found you. Australia.
The place was disgusting.
Place is gross. Gross people there. You're good, though.
Did you have any fast food store memorabilia that you particularly liked? I've got a few in my mind.
Why don't you... Well,
like toys and
I don't want to steal yours.
gadgets and things, like Professor Gadget.
Professor Gadget, that's what I was going to say.
He had the wizards. He had...
His feet became into wizards. His feet became into wizards.
His feet became into wizards. His hat...
His hat became into springs.
You go...
Yep.
And he's like...
His little arms turned into spaghetti for no reason.
Mm-hmm.
He could change colors. He could be white, and then he could be black.
He was an incurable prankster.
He was incurable. He had 10 doctors in a row trying to cure him of his pranking habit.
He had an extremely short temper, too. Don't forget about that.
Yeah, and a long tail.
And long eyelashes.
And long, beautiful eyelashes. Professor Gadgets, I assume.
Professor Gadget, at your service, mate.
Well, you're just a regular man, right?
Oh, Shantae.
Dog hell. Wait, that's no regular hand.
On the contrary, this hand was crafted by yours truly.
You crafted your own hand, sir?
That's right. Would you like to shake it? That is but one trick. Would you like to take a peep inside my trench coat?
Oh, very well. Fair enough. Would you like to see what's beneath my trench coat? I'm Professor Gadgets. Have a look at me gadget bits. Yeah.
I'm roundy from that one, mate.
Professor Gadgets, how long have you been a member of the British Parliament? Dude, British people are so stupid and dumb. We hate them.
At least our schools are not being used as shooting ranges.
Yeah, here's what happens when I wear this crown. I start to get a little belligerent.
Yeah.
I start to think about British people and just what clowns they are. Anyway, for our British audience,
We're sorry.
we're sorry immediately.
We've
take
been
it all
there,
back.
too. We've been there. And
I'd
we
like
loved
to
it.
address. I'd like to address some statements that I made earlier this year, like very, very recently, a few seconds ago, actually. I'm really deeply sorry, and I realize the harm that I may have caused, and I've spent some time reflecting and learning. Once I started to listen and learn to the beautiful people of England, merry bloody old stupid old England, mate, retarded, yeah. So
How about this? You list 3 things you like about the English.
Okay. English language, A plus.
The accents. And
the
how silly and
accents
stupid they
and
are.
Stupid
Awesome.
accents.
It's hilarious.
And their stupid faces. No, Professor Gadgets was, we're kidding, of course. Professor Gadgets was the old cartoon character from the comic book cartoons, and he was in your McDonald's bag, and he had silly little detachments for his arms and legs, and he was made of magic and electricity.
Yeah.
And he had a show starring Robert Bueller.
Robert Bueller, I think, is what his
Right.
name is.
Yeah, there was a movie show that came out, a moving picture that starred Robert Bueller.
Andrew Broderick. Fraser Broderick. Brendan Fraser.
Brenda Froderick. And he, so they were promoting that at McDonald's, and they were promoting it, and you'd get different pieces of his body
Yeah.
with your food. Like dismembered parts of his body, and then you put those together over time. So when I was
you could have a full professor by the end.
Yeah. When I was a kid in, this is a true story, no word of a lie, like 4th grade, I was in Pee Wee football, and there was this kid, I would be lucky to get like a single leg because we didn't go to McDonald's that much in one period of time. And they only ran the promotion for so long. They only had that toy for so long. I ended up getting like 2 left legs, and that's it. And this other kid had built multiple full guys and had leftover parts. And he acted like it was nothing. And I was like, oh, can I have one? And he's like, nah, I kind of need both.
Yeah.
Well, can I have at least a right leg? What if I get the rest of that guy? Then I would have 3.
True.
But yeah, McDonald's was still something that I envied the access to. It was very...
As a kid.
Yeah, because there's a certain value to things because of the scarcity, and that's where the innocence is. When there's still that scarcity, and you're like, "What McDonald's?" or like candy.
Well, let's not get ahead of ourselves here. What else did McDonald's have? They had plates. We
haven't even introed the show, huh?
No, we haven't even.
Yeah. So they had
Huncules plates.
Huncules?
All the different Disney character plates. They had cups. We had a Batman cup from
Are you talking
Burger
about,
King or something.
Not to derail your thought process, but you're talking about Disney's animated hit feature Hercules, where the woman was like, Hercules? More like Huncules. I would like to take a fight out of that, boy. Hercules. Let me see that little booty do a little spin with the Hercules having. Is that the one you're talking about?
I think that's the one, yeah. No, it was also the aesthetic of the inside. You didn't just get tasty food at McDonald's. Mm-hmm. You went into McDonald's and you went up to the chairs and you were like, if that were just a little bit smaller, I'd want to pop that right in my mouth. And I think that the design behind that was like all the way at the top. The dude who was the interior designer at the time, that was probably his main inspiration is if you shrink this down to a bite-sized thing, would somebody want to eat it? And then you just throw that into the store. And then you also have the Hamburglar's intestines that you could crawl through in the play place.
You can look out little windows in his intestines. Mm-hmm. That was cool. I always thought
the big purple guy, Gromit.
Yeah.
Or wait, no, his name was Minkus or something.
Yeah, the big purple monster Minkus would chase you around inside the intestines. So all
grab
this
you sometimes in the ball pit. You'd get grabbed.
Yeah, if you're in the ball pit. Kevin is feverishly fact checking everything we're saying. It's Grimace. Yeah, that's right.
Grimace.
That's what he said though.
Grimace. No,
he said
Grimace.
Grimace.
It's not Grimace. That's Elon Musk dated Grimace.
Yeah, that girl
back
Grimace.
A couple years ago.
Elon Musk broke it off with his rapper girlfriend Grimace.
She talked too much about the Shinigami eyes. She has a song called the Shinigami eyes.
Shinigami
Shinigami
the famous
Uchi.
figure skater.
Capybara Ruchi.
So Elon Musk's wife was a 14-year-old girl named Grimace. They had 3 children together before they divorced, and then she went on to her
And now
rap
she's a
career.
star.
Now she's a geisha. I saw a video. Vin Diesel, a young Vin Diesel with hair, substantial amounts of hair, was being interviewed about, or he was kind of showcasing these Street Shark toys. This might have been a little before your time, but just
Probably
barely. Just barely. Me and Brian were into Street Sharks. They had different powers. Basically, the television series, it was a cartoon. I don't know which came first, the show or the toy. But in the show, they would rollerblade and stuff. That was big in the early 90s. Or they would ride choppers. They would ride motorcycles. And I think maybe they were kind of cops. Or they just fought crime just for fun as a hobby. And they were kind of mutant sharks and they could talk. The toys, though, were incredibly powerful. They would do cool things. And each one of them would do a different cool thing.
Like what?
Like one
Tell
of them,
us.
They would have like one of them you could like crank up and then push the button and it swings around and would like punch really hard. Or one of them, the hammerhead, could like shoot its hammerhead out. And then some of them were made with this authentic premium quality like rubbery shark skin.
Yeah.
Or at least the top half, the bottom half.
Did you guys have any?
Yes.
I don't think I remember.
We get when
any of that.
when you were born and then you started to get old enough to enjoy things. Mom and Dad and me and Brian decided to get rid of the Street Sharks because we kind of had our fun, and I can't remember why we did it, but it was specifically because you were starting to play with stuff. We're like, maybe we don't let him play with the Street Sharks, so that's why you missed out.
Yeah, Street Sharks. I think I saw the video. I think you guys sent it.
It
really looked pretty cool. But what it really calls to mind is all of the advertisements of the old days. If we're just talking straight 90s, if we're just talking 90s, early 2000s, the advertisements. I'm a bit of a connoisseur. I spend a lot of my free time, if you haven't noticed.
Yeah, this guy.
Just watching compilations of old ads. I think it's a lot of fun.
This guy does that with his wife on the weekends. They'll be like, do you want to curl up and watch 3 hours straight of 90s commercials?
She'll be like, do you want to, I don't know, we could do anything. And I'm like, yep. You think of what I'm thinking? Let's sit down and watch 45 minutes of
what would have been on
commercials
TBS.
on Fox 5 bumpers from 1998.
Yeah.
And we do that, and she's like, in like 2 seconds, and I'm just up watching the whole thing. It's awesome.
Yeah.
No, but one of the things that I notice is everything seemed to be a little bit more magical, and maybe it could just be a lens of nostalgia, looking through that lens, like the good old days. Definitely a lot of that, but there's definitely some of it where I guess the advertisement psychology, or I guess the trends of what they're aiming at and what they're trying to get in your brain, and what the outcome that they're trying to get maybe is changing or has changed. I'm not sure.
Maybe.
But the other thing that I noticed, this is just strictly an observation, I don't know what it means, but a relic of that time period in music videos and in commercials and in kids' shows is the fisheye lens real close up in somebody's face.
Oh, yeah.
If you go back and you watch like a Taco Bell commercial, you watch what's that Sugar Ray Someday, the music video for Someday by Sugar Ray.
I think
you'll
remember
notice
it.
some of it, but that's just a little bit. Like some of it, it's just the camera. Anytime the camera's right here, right up in your face, and that fisheye lens that makes everything look expanded. Picture any like mad scientist cereal commercial where he's like, and kids, if you want to,
yeah,
right?
they do
and it's
do
just
that
in their face. But you notice it. That was a thing that lasted for a good while. And if you go back and watch any commercials or anything, it's truly 40% of them have something, some shot like that, and it's cool.
One guy had to figure that out too. Like Douglas Bubble Trouser had to be the guy who determined, I was experimenting and I saw this thing and it just felt really cool.
And
then people
in
were
the
like,
circles,
you seen what Bubble Trouser's been doing?
Mm-hmm.
And then they just
you can
run with
imagine
it.
in those circles of like whoever's creating all of this stuff. Like, you know how every profession, everything like that is a small world. I'm sure that there's like a small world of like ad agencies where like they're like looking at the trends and different art things and stuff like that, like whatever. But
Yeah, that's
it's interesting how that stuff, you ever think about how that stuff happens? I wonder how organic it is or was at any point where have you ever seen those charts of different styles, different aesthetics? It'll be like a grid, like a 16-box grid, and each one is a different style, and one of them will be like Wonka wacky, and one of them will be like futuristic, dark academia, right? Like
dark echinacea.
Dark echinacea. It's really cool to look into it because then you can get a blast from the past and be...
Quick, come up with a really stupid anime title off the top of your head.
Girl Who Ate My Shorts. I don't know.
That was pretty good. That sounds like a Nickelodeon show from, I think your brain's still in early 90s Nickelodeon, because there was a series. It only ran less than one season. They got 4 episodes in before they canceled it, and it was called The Girl Who Ate My Shorts.
You should try to come up with one now.
Okay, but it's really a lot of pressure.
My life as a teenage monster
Yeah, but
high
it's not
school.
that's like a Disney Channel original movie. I'm thinking of like My Hero Academia, but I'm like, what does that?
Like
I've asked you
Girls
before.
Bravo,
Yeah,
My
Girls
Hero
Bravo.
Academia,
It's like the Japanese
Sword Art Online.
Yes, well, that one you told me what it meant.
I mean,
like,
it's just
okay,
the
I
name
get
of the
it.
game. But
Yeah,
Samurai Champloo, Cowboy Bebop.
making you want to go. Okay, what? I don't have any indication what this is about.
That's true.
It's like
Yeah.
they did. It's like Japanese people know words that they've heard in English but don't know what they mean, and they like to say them because they sound cool.
It's almost exactly
Cowboy
what it is.
Bebop.
Could be a lot of that. That's probably a big part of it. But
Since we might be cutting this part, can I say, "Oh, a cowboy, a bebop"? All right. But let's
it is
repeat a
easy.
couple
We're
things.
like the cringe
Yeah.
gray area.
Where it's actually
the margin
cringe
is
versus
really
nice
wide
cringe.
today.
Yeah. It's like if you can't tell if something smells good or bad. It smells interesting, but you haven't decided if you like it yet or not. That's how
Yeah.
cringe is.
When you when you realize that farts low key smell good, life
Yeah.
gets a lot better from that point on.
Yeah, and when you realize heavy lies the Burger King crown. Few who will take on that mantle. Actually, mantle, what that means.
Us few, us merry few,
Us
band
merry
of brothers.
few. I think a mantle,
We band of
obviously,
brothers.
there's a mantle that goes over your fireplace, but a mantle is also like a cape or something.
Probably.
Yeah. But heavy lies the crown, and so that brings us to question number 1. Why the Burger King crowns, for crying out loud? Oh, if it's not one thing, it's another. With the rigmarole.
Everybody's asking, Justin,
Colin,
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 why the Burger
Justin,
King
Colin,
crowns?
why are you guys wearing those paper hats?
Why? You want to say it on 3?
We tried this. You've seen this.
3,
2,
2, 1. Tonight's about the kids, baby. Have it your way. And we're going to have it ours. And, you know, if it's our way, we're going to choose to talk about the kids tonight. The kids are, well...
The kids are cursed.
The kids are cursed. So what is it?
It's
a cursed world.
It's cursed
baby.
world problems.
It's Cursed World
Podcast.
Problems podcast, baby. And
100 subscribers. We got to do shout
try
outs.
that again. Try that again, but
All
do
right.
it a little
But
bit.
I don't have an actual air horn.
Okay. Ready? 3, 2, 1. It's Cursed World Problems.
It's cursed world problems.
baby.
And it's cursed world problems, baby. It's cursed world problems,
Problems,
baby.
baby.
100 subscribers.
100 subscribers. Thank you very much. A very heartfelt thank you to Ashley Green.
Yep, Ashley
Greensworth.
Green, we got the privilege of knowing who our precise 100th follower or subscriber was on YouTube, and it was Ashley Green.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Ashley Green. We also have another shout out that we've been itching to shout out.
You just want to get right into it? Who is it? Mr. Westford. Over on his channel, Mr. Westford. Go check him out. Link is a subscription.
Yeah, so
Click on his
Mr.
channel.
Westford does some really nice quality streams with some interesting people, perspectives. They'll just kind of hash it out on some theological point, kind of practicing, kind of sharpening that apologetics sword. So we've been waiting to shout him out. He truly has,
He's giving Steenie a run for his money, of course.
been giving Steenie Trellis a run for his money in terms of just early and often support. So
Speaking of Steenie, we actually just received a super chat. Steenie says, I saw the Burger King crown on somebody else in a funny reel the other day. Did you guys see it too?
No.
Yeah, me neither. Next.
Moving on.
The Doctor,
Cursed world problem.
Holds a key to the evolution of the human mind.
with a vision of the future.
I have a podcast in my house that you might like to
Listen to.
Would you like that?
Yeah. Okay. That was really bad.
I have a different.
Episode.
I even have one that could help make you smarter.
Now, Job Smith is about to enter the world of cursed world problems.
It's gonna hit me! No, Joe, just relax. It's gonna be like being up there with the stars, Joe. His mind is like a clean, hungry sponge.
Randy.
Oh, and I'm horny again.
I just graduated to the next level, Joe.
You're not the lawnmower man. Oh, you've certainly changed. I don't know how you did it, but I approve.
I absorbed Latin yesterday in less than 2 hours.
You realize, Dr. Angelo, that my intelligence has surpassed yours.
The imaginary becomes real,
Trying to get inside my head, Joe.
You can't hide anything from me, Dr. Angelo.
and reality
We have no idea what he's gonna do.
is all in your mind.
Cursed World Problems.
So, kids are cursed. It may not be as bad as you think.
Every child has an evil and dark curse, but why that's a good thing,
Well, why that
and
might...
why that's a good thing. Our BuzzFeed
journalist,
reporter,
yeah. Oh man. So what we're trying to get at is things were good back in the day. What was your childhood like? I mean, we're only, what are we, 5 years apart? You had a different childhood than I did, because after a certain point, things started moving so rapidly that just a couple years difference, like it all blends together after some time in general, but even a few years difference, especially now. Like, people talk about generations. You got the boomers and you got the stoomers, you got the coomers, you've got consumers, you've got all the rest, right?
Yeah.
And so boomers and Gen X and millennials and Gen Z, those are the ones I'm aware of. I think that Alpha's the next one.
Alpha's the
So I
one's
don't
coming
know
up.
how they make these names up or who makes them up, but
some boomer
the
makes them up.
cutoff, I feel like if you picture the time between the generations is getting smaller and smaller, because people just a few years younger than me are way different than me, and people just a year younger than them are because of just the way that media is working and how hyper speed we're running at, right?
Yeah. You could probably chart it on a line graph that the acceleration rate of cultural change and technological change is on that crazy curve now. It's like reaching very vertical, angular.
So it's easy to look
thing.
at those things and be scared of what kind of monsters are we creating, or who's going to be, stepping into the places of running things and making infrastructure keep going and making all the systems continue.
A bunch of iPad kids are going to be
A bunch of iPad kids, and
flying here.
to some extent they're probably going to be like fine and good, but to another extent they are being handicapped with like common sense and stuff like that. So I don't know. I feel like it's either going to work out cleanly, where just all of the homeschool kids who are their families are purposefully radicalizing them in the right way are going to be the ones that come up and like do all the right things and take all the spots of power. That'd be awesome. We can all hope, right?
Yeah, we'll see.
Because the other ones will be inept.
It's maybe not as bad as it seems, because I truly think that, because I've already seen iPad kids go into school now. Children of friends that I have are turning out to not be total like slobbering fools. They're coming.
But you
into
really
their own.
think it's going to be like that if they have the pad placed in front of them from age 6 months to 5 years,
Yeah.
6 years?
I don't know. I mean, we'll see. But
At the very least, there's something to be said about the wiring of their brains and the instant gratification and the dopamine reward systems and all of that kind of stuff to potentially, I mean, what might be happening, the implications of it might be that you have lower impulse control masses. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Which is not a good thing. If you picture the differences between I don't know, pit bulls and golden doodles. There are some dogs that are a little bit higher IQ and can learn tricks and can sit and wait and have high impulse control and all of that. And some other dogs that maybe don't. And
I think it's socioeconomic, though, isn't it? With the... Wait, never mind. You're talking about...
Yeah. So
it's not,
with the dogs,
it's the owners is what I meant to say.
Yeah, it's the owners.
It's the owners.
But they are less. They have this thing called gameness, where they will continue attacking until they can't anymore, until the thing stops moving, and even further than that and beyond. Right.
But we're getting off topic.
Yeah, we are getting off topic. But what I'm saying is that maybe there's some of that kind of leaking into that low impulse control is maybe going to translate to a whole generation of people who will be in even more debt than we're in, right?
Yeah, probably. But that's not the only way the kids are cursed too, because when we talked about doing this episode before, it's like we should definitely hit that, but that's not the extent of the curse too.
Sure.
Part of it's from the technological angle of they got the iPads and it's changing the way that their brain functions because they're expecting the next hit thing. You've seen these
You've seen this.
You've seen this. These horrifying videos of kids that are on like an iPad and a phone and watching TV and they're doing this all over the place. It's kind of funny.
Or they're asleep and they're sleep scrolling.
That's the worst one. That one made me like take my own phone and realize that I was looking at my phone and like I just sat there and I was like, whoa, I hate this. But I think the kids have always been cursed. Can we say that? Like today's kids definitely are, and we should talk about that. But kids in general, they're a target for a reason. When we talk about the enemy and the aerial places, but then also the enemy here on the ground, it's always true that if you can access the kids to corrupt them or to engineer them a certain way, it could be for money. We've talked about this before. There's different layers and different sets of motivations that work in a coordinated way, in concert, but a team of, a coalition of forces with each individual having vastly different interests can still have similar goals. So if we talk about the demons want to corrupt kids for obvious reasons. But
what are those obvious reasons? I think we're here to kind of lay out the reasons.
Okay.
So what is the thing that kids represent?
Purity,
innocence.
Yeah, there's a big annoying...
I think that children are our future.
You're going to go on record and say that?
Yep. I'm willing to say that.
Bold and controversial.
How are you willing to say something so...
Yeah.
Whatever he said.
Yeah.
Enough said.
What if we do that with every reference? We're like, excuse me, and the rest of the joke. And the rest of the reference. You know how it goes. Yada, yada, yada. La, 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 la.
But yeah, so
the kids, they represent...
innocence, purity. They're childlike. We have these terms. It's built into our language.
The children, they're so
who are
young.
Childlike, often naive. They're gullible.
Short.
They believe things, right? They believe what you tell them.
Small hands.
They have very short fingers. If I went on and told my 4-year-old something, I could craft a lie and he would believe me because he trusts me, right? Or some other adult can craft a lie. Or lots of corporations can put their heads together and craft a bunch of lies, and your kids will believe them. Mm-hmm. So they're innocent, and they're gullible, and they're naive, all of these things, because they have yet to taste enough of the world to know to be scared. So they're high value. They're worth protecting. They're like the VIP. They're the thing that should be protected the most. And yet, our cursed world works and is designed in such a way that they're the highest target. They're the most primo thing for the bad guys to get a hold of, whether physically or get into their brains and start controlling their feelings and how they think and all of that.
So you were asking me just a minute ago why you're asking me to be explicit about why the demons have a vested interest in the children being corrupted.
Sure.
And I think it's because highest value target, like you just said, highest value target because they have the highest incidence of innocence. They are they're not sinless, but obviously they haven't achieved levels of conscious, willful rebellion against God that adults have, or teenagers even, you know? And so to get them there, you can set them on that course for life. And the demons, this should go without saying, but let's just do the math here. The demons hate God, hate the image of God. They seek to have a kingdom of their own. And the only way you can have a kingdom is if the kingdom has subjects. And how do you make subjects but to make them into slaves that do your bidding? And how do you get them to do your bidding but to get them to be enslaved to their own selfishness?
Their drive is to mess up the image, right? That's what you would say.
And I think
to have to lead people into squandering their...
Additionally, to have subjects in their kingdom.
Sure, okay.
Let me go off on a little tangent because I think it's worth it, and this is a concept that a lot of people...
This had better be good!
Nice. That puts a lot of pressure on me when you do that voice, when you do that character in particular. Because I've had nightmares about this. Sneezma?
Yeah, from Kronk's New
Groove.
His
name is Sneezma?
I mean, Emperor's New Groove.
Yeah, okay, all right, okay, right. So, Sneezma. 1, 2, 3.
All right, ready?
So,
1, 2, 3.
It's cursed world
No,
problems.
ready?
Oh, okay.
1, 2, 3. Chef High School.
I can't wait to get there. It feels like I've been in Chef Middle School for 10 years. I can't wait to truly learn how to julienne that red pepper. It's Chef High School. We can finally reinvent ourselves as freshmen.
All right, donkeys. Listen up. I need you sauteing 5 times a day. Your homework for tonight is to saute 10 onions. All right, donkeys. Out of here.
How am I supposed to do all my sauteing homework?
It's rubbish.
How am I supposed to do all my sauteing homework? I have hamburger football practice after school.
And I have got pizza practice.
Tom, you're always thinking about food.
And I've got pizza violin practice later.
Playing a violin with a slice of pizza instead of one of these called a bow. All right, so here's a concept. So there's a concept that I think is worth getting into here that a lot of people... I don't know. I didn't know about it till like 2023. The idea that, and this is where that Alex Jones style disclaimer is going to come into play at the beginning of the ep. I can't vouch for this being like...
NSA, not spiritual advice.
Right, not spiritual advice. The idea that basically that the fall of the devil didn't happen before he tempted Adam and Eve. Him tempting Adam and Eve in the garden was his fall. So I didn't know that was a viewpoint on it. I don't know who holds that view.
I've never heard that.
Yeah, but it's like, so, and the reason he was doing that was him ascending to try to be like God. That was him trying to take God's place, was him trying to be the God of Adam and Eve, trying to like gain them as his subjects. So God created them, and then the serpent tried to like commandeer them. And the way to do that is to get them like under his dominion. And the way to get them under his dominion is to get them serving themselves. So it's a little bit circular here, because why is it that them serving themselves would put them under his dominion? Because him tempting them to do that was also at the same time him serving himself. So it's everything happening simultaneously, that the new kingdom, the sucky shadow realm kingdom of serving yourself and not walking in step with God, but trying to ascend to the Godhead yourself, take it for yourself, all that Satan fell like lightning. Lightning falls all in an instant from top to bottom. So the devil fell like lightning trying to tempt Adam and Eve, and at the same time, they basically, a few seconds later, they're like, okay, let's, and then there they are. Now you have the king of the lower whatever, the one that's going to be relegated, made to crawl on his belly and eat the dust. And then you get Adam and Eve that were made from the dust, and to the dust they shall return and become food for the devil. You know what I'm saying? Food for the serpent. Wild stuff. Had never thought of any of this before. And when you take that and you apply it, just to bring this back, when you apply this to why do the forces of darkness, why does the devil and the devils seek to corrupt? It's for the sake of hatred of the image, but also it gains them something. It gains them subjects of their kingdom, so that they can, in terms of the screw tape letters, it gives them something to feed on. And we've talked about that already a little bit, that they somehow subsist on the perversion or the corruption of others.
Yeah, I would never look into it, but it is a curious thought. What's the mechanism there? How does it work spiritually? I'm sure that somebody across the ages has been illumined to such nasty things, but it is curious. It's an interesting thing to think about. Is there some value? Because we've talked. We just put it in our best terms. We make it as simple as we can to make it make sense. And what makes sense in the simplest terms is that they are bent. They're bent, mate.
I knew you were going to say that.
They're bent toward tearing people away from the kingdom, having them serve anything other than God, because anything other than God is enough, you know?
For their purposes.
Because they hate, just because they hate the image, their goal is to keep people away from it.
Yeah. So but that brings us back to kids. Kids are a big target, and they always have been. Number one, for ease of access, and they're just easy. They're easy targets because they're gullible. So that's one thing. It's a crime of opportunity. That's like the least nefarious reason and mechanism for, or explanatory component of kids being the biggest targets. Then they're targeted because of something inherent in their kidness, something that the darkness wants to take away or eat in on. Because if you think about it, all of us have to become as kids too.
That's what I was going to say. Let's touch on the imagery there. The imagery that we're given, some instructions that we're given, is to become like a child.
From the mouth of God directly, and that unless you become like a child, unless you are childlike in the way that you receive the kingdom, you won't receive the kingdom. It's not like you can't unless you do. It's not a test. It's like that the childlike heart is the one that is calibrated to receive and understand and take part in the kingdom. So to receive him, to receive Christ, to receive, one way to think about it, or at least the most surface level, obvious one, is touching on that naive, gullible point. I don't know any other. Those have such negative connotations that I don't have any other words for it. But that easily trusting, how about that? Easy to trust quality in children, I think is one of the facets of why he demands or requests or states that, is because he wants, I guess, you to be not so skeptical and easy to trust him, and for lack of a better term, I guess, so let's put it this way. I think all the terms fall short.
They all fall short, but
the
reason I'm hesitant to say it is because it is probably the very thing that, not that I'm scared of atheists or whatever, but it's the very thing that they would try to use to show that you're naive. You're naive if you believe in Sky Daddy or whatever.
But to those who are perishing, the gospel is foolishness.
Yeah.
That's what
Well,
it
they
is.
would
That's
say
what you
they
just
would read it
described.
and be like, "Well, that of course every cult needs a mechanism of keeping you in and whatnot, or getting you to believe it, and that's the perfect logical thing that I would say if I were trying to get somebody to believe in my silly religion. You have to be like a child so that you believe in me and not think so hard about all the nitty gritty.
It's funny though, because there's an irony to that, because it is true that all the cults try to tell you these lies and say you just have to believe, you just have to trust. But in one instance, it's true, and in that one instance, that God's never asking you to just, or not as often as we presuppose, is God asking you to simply go against all of your sense data. It happens in the Bible, but only commensurate with the person's amount of faith. God didn't ask everyone all the time to take their son, their only begotten son, up on a mountain and
Put a knife to his
sacrifice.
throat.
Yeah, he literally only did that with Abraham, knowing in his perfect wisdom that Abraham had reached that level of faith. This is where, obviously, I try to stay away from all the philosophy and theology that's like the real academic stuff. But I think that it was Kierkegaard who made that point and saying that there were basically three levels of faith. One of them was true, like just pure obedience to the law, to the rules, and then one of them is like true religion, where you have a certain devotion and like you understand the heart of it. And then the third level, probably botching this whole thing, but someone in the comments can let me know. The third level was like transcending even the concept, so that once you hit a certain level of faith, God may ask you to even step outside of even the heart of it, to go against, to do the opposite or something.
It's either the same as or very similar as like psychological levels or whatever. Whenever you talk about like Piaget's models of child development,
First, you start with sucking on your thumb, and then you start with sucking on your toes, and then you just start to suck on different objects in the room.
No, I'm not sure about that. Like Freud, I think Freud talked about oral fixations and things of that sort, but Piaget stuff is you trust versus distrust. I think I might be wrong. There's so many different those types of things that you learn, but similar to it's when you're learning a task. People talk about that exact same principle being applied to skills. So when you're just learning it, you have to obey the rules. Boom, 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 boom. You have to, because that's your structure.
Rules. You better
learn your rules.
If you don't, you'll be eaten in your sleep.
Yeah. So you have to abide by all of the rules. You do it by the playbook, and you don't do anything else. Then you actually understand it, and you get into a flow state. You don't have to think about the rules. You can bend them a little bit because you understand the concepts, and it's like music. You can start playing jazz. But then the next level up is you can break all the rules because there are no rules.
Right. But the difference is, with all those many ways that could be applied, it fits. Like you can stick that mold on all kinds of stuff, and then it's a little bit different with the faith thing, because in all those other examples, it would be that you can do this, and now you've ascended to this. And on the faith level, it's like this is what's might be required of you. Once you hit that certain level of sainthood, more will be required of you, because the more it's like God calling the shots for your investments and saying, now you're running with the big dogs now. It's going to be so high risk, even though there's zero risk in the Lord's eyes. To you as a human being, your faith is going to be tested. Like, oh, this seems like it's risking everything, but it's God requiring of you an amount of faith that defies not just like normal levels of comfort and logic, but defies almost the religion that you learned. So this is not something that I want to talk about lightly, because it's definitely not prescriptive. It's the opposite, but it's also inspiring, and you see it in the lives of the saints sometimes. You see somebody do something and you're like, that doesn't make sense, but it's because it's not prescriptive. It's because they're that one in, a billion that God abided with.
But it's never totally outside of the laws. It just
no.
It always has a principle at play.
100%.
It always boils down to you're still
It's just
they're
the
still
principle
playing
might
by the
not be
rules. So it's like St. Joseph the Hesychast beating his legs with rods. One might see that as what's they call self-flagellation, and
well, it literally is, right? But one might see it as
whatever the
some
people
sort of-
were that did that.
I see what you mean.
Wrong-headedly.
Yeah.
The people who were doing it and out of feel sorry for me, or I'm so
stinky.
I'm so stinky. But it's almost a fake. It's a fake stinky. But this was him beating himself purposely because this was a tool against the passions. This was a tool to keep himself humble. This was a tool to redirect his mind, because suffering and pain is our means of salvation. And this was his redirect. This was his...
Yeah. It's a great example
for the autists out there. This was his fidget spinner.
Yeah. We've been tisming hard a little bit so far, but in that case, it's a perfect example because he... I don't know much about Joseph the Hesychast, but I can say that whenever there are these monks that are pretty highly ascended, they themselves have spiritual fathers, and they have a guiding of their ascetic practices, and they will have a blessing to do certain of these things. But that same spiritual father may take a novice, some 25-year-old that comes from the world and is just learning how to even begin to have his noose polished.
And he'll
up
be
a
like, on this Wednesday and Friday, I want you to eat meat.
Yeah, exactly.
Because you're getting a little bit too prideful.
Yeah,
like
that
checkers.
25-year-old kid would be like, well, I saw him over there. He's like lashing his legs, and that's when he's like, don't look at him, and don't begin to think that you can just plug and play with stuff like that.
Yeah,
that's so critical.
But even it's so easy. It's so easy. Even if you think you know that lesson, you don't know the lesson, and you have to keep learning that lesson.
Tell me about it.
Tell me about it.
Let's not get into specifics, huh? Shall we?
Let's not.
Yeah. Well, one of the things, if I may break the fourth wall and just direct this to our audience, one of the things that Colin and I are learning a little bit about is how you come into this thing, you come into the Orthodox world and you're like, oh, I'm so jazzed up. And after a few months, I've like learned enough of the basics to be like, all right, let's go. And then something confronts you that makes you realize that the thing you thought you understood and that you were like up to, you're up to speed. You've been making the like level 1 mistakes rampantly for weeks. You just couldn't identify it because guess what? All these things, you're not so above them as you think you are.
You think because you're reading the level 100 bosses, like it's raising your level up to those levels, but rather you're just remaining a level 1 goon.
Yeah, you are a level 1 goon for God knows how long, but don't think about levels. You're a level 1 slime. You may be a level 2 gooner, but just because you're reading a level 90 sauce master doesn't mean that you're a level 88 just because he's a little bit better than you. Right, no cap.
So, enough said about that. Let's get back to the kids.
Yeah, what were we even talking about any of that for?
Well, we were talking about innocence, and we talked, just a little recap for you guys. We already know what we're talking about, and we're definitely on point and not off.
We're so on point. It's the best episode we ever did. Joker night, baby. Did we talk about Joker night? Did we talk about it being Joker night?
Yeah, it's Joker night. If you haven't noticed the lights, it's Joker night.
We might have
happens
said
once
this.
a year. We might have said it.
Yeah.
We're not going to say it again.
It's the most wonderful time of the year. It's
the most
Joker
wonderful
night.
time of the year.
It's Friday. We have 100 subscribers. It's Joker night, and we are wearing our Burger Kings. And all right, so now the housekeeping's out of the way.
Housekeeping done. What is it? It's Cursed World
Cursed
Problems,
World Problems, baby. You just want to get right into it.
Let's get right into it.
All right. So, did you ever play with Street Sharks?
So, kids, we were talking about kids. They're innocent. And some might say, well, the reason that Christ tells you to be innocent or to be childlike is because he wants you to be gullible so that you'll believe in Sky Daddy. And we're saying, well, maybe.
If you play your cards right.
No.
I'll never
So we
tell.
talked about that. We talked about how there is a way, there's nothing wrong, I don't think, with with just trying to learn everything. I think you're supposed to test things. I don't think God is sitting around nervous and biting his nails that you're going to test too hard and his house of cards is going to fall. But rather, there's a special piece in being playing the role of simpleton and playing the role of just a simple faith and being at peace with what you have and your little home parish and not getting into all the nitty-gritty and not worrying about what this or that bishop is doing on the other side of the world and what's in the news and not, yes, learn what you can, read your books, learn what you can about theology, but for the most part, faithfully show up and you'll Osmosis Jones a lot of the stuff.
Yeah.
And anything that is important that matters, you have. Anything that is not as important, you might think is important, you start to worry about it. It's not that important because all you got to do is have an answer of...
Yeah.
You know?
If you're already getting the pride of knowledge, first of all, let me say this. Very important, and we're going to treat this with some reverence. Do you know what I say whenever I'm really, really itching to watch Osmosis Jones on Blu-ray disc with the special features? Mm-hmm. I say, I'm Osmosis Jonesing.
Yeah.
All right, so now that we got that out of the way.
For your next point. Go.
Thank you. So it's really important to recognize that it's a mid-wit coupling of two ideas that happens. The midwits will hear people talking about being simple in mind, simple in faith, quickly ready to believe. They'll couple that conceptually with being low IQ. But here's why it's not the case. This is why only the midwits assume that a person is dumb when they are simple like that. Because, case in point, well, let's start with Job. He's an obvious one. He refused to curse God and die, and all of his friends who are really philosophizing about, well, what if perhaps what God's doing? And they were the ones that he...
Might I suggest...
Excuse me, my sire Job, have you considered that perhaps you have sinned in this parliament today? And it has made me very, very randy. So there's Job, who people will be like, he's so stupid because he's not over theologizing this and like raging at God and like spinning his little mental wheels. No, it's out of an abundance of faith, not a deficiency of intelligence, that he didn't ask all those same questions at that same level. Next here we have in Luke chapter 1 or chapter 2, you see two examples, two people that see almost the same thing. Zechariah. He goes, how is this possible? And the angel shut his mouth, or God shut his mouth. It didn't talk for 9 months. And then Mary, the Theotokos, says, how can this be? And then the angel just explains to her, and she's like, wow. That was innocence and faith like a child, but not like a dumb little kid. But like, I did the voice. Darn it.
You should do construction worker voice.
You want me to do the whole point? You want me to do the whole serious...
Take it from the top.
Okay.
Construction worker. Just kidding. Take it from where you are. Construction worker from now on.
Oh, this is going to be bad. Taking a really serious good point and trying to do a really bad character accent on it. Disaster. Recipe for disaster. But if you insist...
You guys are going to want to listen to this. This is not spiritual advice, but it's really important, and it might help you grow the way that you think about certain things. All right. Hit him with it, boss.
Well, you see, in the second chapter of the Gospel according to Luke, I hate this so much.
Yeah.
Number one, I'm not good at it.
But that makes it better because we're cringe for Christ.
Go ahead. Cringe for Christ.
Normal voice, go ahead.
Next episode, we'll say this. When we have 200 subscribers, I promise I will never die. And number 2, promise. I promise I will do the construction worker voice the whole episode. Oof, that's a big one. And I'm saying that as if we'll never hit 200 subscribers, so I'm literally shooting myself in the foot here. All right. So, Mary...
You have to be a man of your word, so I would cancel out that promise
quick. I cancel it immediately. I'm doing like Harry Potter. I'm a river hobbit.
All right.
So, you see Zechariah and Mary say something that seems like almost the same thing, but one of them was like, "Look, I've been around the block. I'm a priest. I know how these things go, and I gotta say, I doubt it. Is this possible?" And then it's like, well, you're gonna learn what's possible and what's not, and your faith is gonna grow the hard way. You're not gonna speak, and by the end of that, he was like, "No, the child's name will be John." He had reached through that punishment, which really says a lot about God's character and how he deals with those who don't have that childlike innocence. He hasn't left them out. He hasn't counted them out. He's just going to take them the long, hard way. He has to make them like children by softening them up, you know? So, Zechariah can't talk for months. Mary, with her yes and her proclamation of faith and joyful obedience, she doesn't go the long route because she is still with that. She's childlike in that most important of ways, that she inherited the kingdom within herself. She inherited the king within herself, and only she was really worthy to do that because of that level of purity and innocence that you see in the kind of archetypal innocent and pure and unblemished child. Is all this checking out?
Yeah.
All right.
This checks out. So how do they target that, and how do they want that to be squandered? I think part of the tactics is overexposure to things early on. Aleister Crowley said that children should be exposed to every sexual act by the time they're like 5 years old or something, and this is the way. This is the way to pervert. This is the way to get the most evil out into the world. So I think that goes without saying in all of the content that is out there. There is sick stuff. So let's just talk. We'll keep this in the category of things that are out there getting your children not physically snatching them, but trying to get into their minds. You have all of the endless YouTube videos of, some of it again can be owned up to just money. They're waiting to get clicks, but a lot of it is sick people trying to slip in nasty bits into the seemingly innocent things, to poison your kids and to expose them to things that they are not able to process or understand earlier than whatever. It's almost a mental molestation or something. And so that's one route, and that's in movies. It's subtly in things. You can take that over to the idea stuff, like we were talking about Pocahontas a few episodes back, where they're trying to instill by over and over steeping your children in these ideas of reject your parents' ways, break from the mold, tradition. Anything traditional is bad. Everyone out there is a superstar and should go their own way and not listen to their parents. I just watched My Big Fat Greek Wedding the other day. Same deal.
Big fat Greek wife.
Deal. My big fat Greek woman.
My big fat stupid Greek wife. It's funny to me.
Yeah. And so same deal. Pocahontas, big fat Greek wife, whatever. All of them are very similar. Moana. All of them are, my parents and my people have this tradition. I am different. I need to break the mold and do things differently because I'm a girl boss. So that's one way. Also, the sexual perversion stuff. You get subliminal stuff all throughout the Disney movies. That, I don't know how much it actually sinks in or not. I don't know. It could just be sickos. But it's a thing. And then so Princess Jasmine, people talking about, there was a Instagram going around where girls were talking about how the first time I ever felt anything remotely sexual was, or that was awakened in me, was whenever I saw Princess Jasmine twirling Jafar's beard. And that set me off and gave me a lifelong thing for like older men and stuff like that.
Ew!
There's something sick and disgusting
Don't
going
tell
on
me this.
in the movies. So that's one way. Exposing your kids to ideas and thoughts and things before they're ready. Ariel and her fine-looking face and hair and boobs and those seashell clam cups.
Can I say something?
Fantastic.
Can I say something without everyone getting mad?
Can I? Yeah, go ahead.
never
Nobody would
mind.
get mad. That's the thing.
Yeah, I
Anyway,
know.
so stuff like that. But then you've got the system. The school system is designed like a prison that they're trapped in. They can't get out. So you're ruining their creativity. You're showing them that there's no hope. You're making it so that they're rigid. Whatever. Your boy just wants to get outside whenever the sun's shining, and that's causing problems in the classroom. So you pump them full of Ritalin and make them sit still.
Mm-hmm.
That's happening to many, 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 many kids. I don't know what the percentage is, but lots of kids throughout the entire system. They grow up through it. So that's another way that it's equally, they're trying to awaken something in them that's unnatural and before their time, and they're trying to subdue and put down the part that is wholesome and childlike and adventurous and good.
So the curse is very like systematically engineered. It's genius, and it's a full-scale war that's not just going on generationally, but multi-generationally. So the curse is very technological. There's mystical aspects to it, but if the kids are cursed, it's because there's an entire well thought out and extremely well funded, and the smartest minds, the smartest pervert, just bleep this part, the smartest pervert minds are out there with like doing complex math equations on a board to be like, how can we get the kids, how can we move the average age of their first exposure to pornography from 4 years old to 2 years old?
Yeah.
How can I see more little boy wieners? It's not just a few perverts. It's like it seems like there has to be
there's a
cabal of
reason.
people behind
exactly.
a curtain.
It's not just there just so happens to be this many people out there, and they all happen to be at the top. They all happen to be in charge of the media and the banks and the what have you in Hollywood. That's not really just it. It's also goes back centuries or millennia to ancient ritual magic things. Maybe, we'll be light about it, but let's go ahead and move from mental to the physical. There's a long, verifiable history of kidnappings, not just for the sake of, okay, picture the most innocent kidnapping. Okay, somebody wants a slave, right? Grab a bunch of kids, put them in the slaves, working on the farm. I don't know. That's the best. What's you know what I mean? What other things are there that people kidnap kids for?
Let's not do this question. Let's do funny jokes and stuff.
No. Let's press through, but keep it nice and light. So you've got a long history of kidnappings being a thing, which, by the way, fun fact, this is something I heard, is that where in the United States has the highest rate of kidnappings?
Florida.
Fairfax, Virginia. Lots of politicians and stuff around that area, probably, right?
Ooh.
You think about like think about
Is it because of the highest ransom rates? Because those counties up there.
yeah, maybe that could be it.
I
would just figure the closer you get to DC.
I was just trying to do like a normie, but this is one of the things I like from
immigrants working for rich people.
That could be it.
That's also I think that was the first thing that came to mind. I just didn't want to say it because I'm all right. So there's a quick shout out for one of the shows I've listened to for years and years and years. It's currently called Occult Symbolism in Popular Culture with Isaac Weishaupt. It used to be Conspiracy Theories and Unpopular
Jay says
Culture.
Weishaupt.
Well, I don't know why, but Weishaupt says Weishaupt. So
maybe he says it to be funny. You see?
Maybe, yeah. So he was saying it to be funny, like the Cappadocians and the Chalcedonians. You see, basically, one of the things that he does with his wife on their other show is she'll always play the normie, foil to his, because he's a pretty level-headed guy. He's like liberal too. He doesn't let on so much all the time, but he's also pretty even-handed. But he kind of admits when something is. Okay, this is a conspiracy theory, but I think that it's fully true. He's a very well-reasoned dude. But even his wife is going to take the normie role and be like, well, maybe it's this.
For the sake of the show, or she actually takes that?
I think it's kind of both. it doesn't mean she literally refuses to see reason. It's good to hear somebody say, well, is it possible that it's not because of Fairfax that the politicians are Pizzagating the kids, but maybe it's that there's a lot of money there and therefore ransom, whatever. That's important. I think that's important to stay grounded.
I didn't even think about that. So that was what I was getting at earlier, or that would have been a perfect example. That's the most innocent kidnapping. If I take this kid
Money.
and then I can make money to give it back.
Mm-hmm.
What the percentage of those versus the other nasty bits?
Yeah.
Probably not a good ratio.
Like that Denzel Washington movie, The Fireman.
Yeah, or Taken, or any other.
He was
movie.
good in Taken too.
Yeah.
You take my daughter, I take your life. Get out of my sight. Now you do a character.
Listen up. I'm gonna be serious with you right now. If you don't listen up,
I need these potholes filled by next October at the latest. All right, we're a construction crew. We're not here to play patty cake.
you put me on the spot, and I always choke.
I choke 100% of the time.
I
It's
don't
part
think
of my mystique.
things that I will never, ever be able to do, no matter how hard I practice or try, stand-up comedy. It's performing on the spot.
I think you could do it with coaching.
I don't think so.
If the best in the business came and said, give me 30 days with you, we're going to walk around, we're going to talk, we're going to take notes, we're going to do some practice, I think that he could give you...
I'm the king of drawing blanks. I'm the king of, like, as soon as it's the spotlight's on me, it's nothing. Yeah. White blank page.
Yeah. It's okay to have tangents that are completely off topic. I think it's good to do a little pressure relief valve, especially when we're talking about kidnappings and stuff. One of the things that I would like to do, and I've said this before, is go to Philadelphia or somewhere that's far enough away. I picked Philadelphia because it's like 5 hours or something. It's far enough away, and it is a major, major city. It's on a ley line, for crying out sake. We go there, and we find an open mic comedy night, and we perform
Some jokes.
We write some jokes, and we try our best for a few weeks to just...
What's the shortest stand-up?
Like 2-minute set or something, probably.
That could be cool.
Yeah, so if you can keep them going for 3 minutes, essentially you only need 2 jokes. You can do that.
Okay.
We should do it. The 3 of us should commit to going and doing an open mic night on the same night.
Okay. So...
See us there.
Philadelphia, you got a date?
I don't know. I'm
July,
thinking of asking someone.
The first Saturday in July, Philadelphia.
I'm thinking of asking my wife.
The Laugh Hucks, the Chuckle, the Chortle Box.
Yeah.
We're gonna be there.
Come down to the Chuckle Pit.
Come down to the Chuckle Pit in Philadelphia. Yeah. So let me just get back to this real quick. We'll make it quick. Another reason that they're targets physically is because of the innocence. Mm-hmm. You talk about all of that evil magic and all of that type of thinking. The reason the special chemical that is drunk for the high and the youth serum and all of that kind of stuff, the reason that is so potent is because of the young lifeblood, the innocence. There's something metaphysical about it. Mm-hmm. Because they're in the business of causing the most suffering, right? How can we... It's as if any person in the whole world could get together with a few dudes, a few people, sit down with a piece of paper and say, all right, if somebody was paying you $1,000 to sit down and come up with the most horrid and disgusting stuff that you could come up with, you could all come to the same conclusions. And so I think that there's something about that, and people try to make those things happen. It's less theoretical, less up here. They actually try to make that happen for some gain, for some value, for some demonic, disgusting ends.
I'm sympathetic.
Do you know what I'm
to
saying?
That. I am. I'm sympathetic to that view. The viewers might not know this. You guys know it. I always lean toward that kookier side, not just because I'm paranoid. That's part of it, okay? I might have some disorders pinging around up there, right? You
Yeah.
know what I'm saying?
Yep.
I might be a little unstable. Oh, I'm a nice enough guy.
I might be off my meds.
I might have not taken it the last few days. Ashley thinks that I do, but I spit him out.
Little accent to make it sound better.
Sometimes I take extras. A little double dose. So I lean that way, and so I'm sympathetic to that. But also, let me give you the middle of the road one, not just the normie one. One of the angles we haven't looked at is a political infiltration. We talk about what did Bill Cooper say in Behold a Pale Horse? Silent War. What is it? Kevin's gonna pull this up. Silent weapons for quiet wars, or vice versa. Quiet weapons, silent wars. It's about fighting World War III, not on a battlefield. We're always like, they're going to use drones in World War III. They're going to use laser weapons. Well, imagine this. They're going to use information. They're going to use culture. They're going to use infiltration. And one of the ways that they can do that to destabilize a nation is to corrupt the generation coming up, like you said earlier, making them unable to keep a train of thought, unproductive, lack of self-control. Another thing, E. Michael Jones, in his Libido Dominandi book, which I haven't read. They're incredibly hard to get a hold of because it doesn't publish a lot. He's kind of like blacklisted in a lot of circles. Very intelligent guy, Catholic though he may be. Be that as it may, he recognizes in a very pointed way and articulates this in some of the. I heard him on a Roosh V interview a few years ago where he was saying, at some point along the way, those powers that be recognized that there's the hard way of enslaving people, which is rounding them up and putting them in chains and getting them to do your bidding, hard labor, whatever. And then there's the more streamlined way of enslaving people to their own passions, which we've talked about before. The two most powerful drivers of a person's mind, the most powerful entry points, inroads for hijacking a person from the inside are the
Nasty bedroom things.
Nasty bedroom things and the instinct for food. So those are going to be the two main
Libido
fronts.
and dominandi. Okay.
Yeah, you got it. So basically, you can take over you can make the next generation easier to conquer, easier to get a hold of their attention spans and their money and their habits and their behaviors. But also, this is what I was really getting at, a demoralization campaign. What's the worst thing you can do to an enemy to just destroy them from the inside?
Yeah.
And it's to take their kids.
Take their sex.
Kids.
Take
2, 3.
Take their kids. Okay. Take their kids.
Yeah. Take their kids. Ruin their kid. Pinocchio.
Yeah.
Remember in Pinocchio, whenever they go round up the kids, they're like, come on, have fun with us. Jump on the boat. That is one of the saddest. I don't want to talk too much about it because it'll actually ruin my weekend to think too hard about it. But I get so profoundly depressed thinking about the sequence of scenes in Pinocchio where the little boys are coaxed into having a good time and drinking and smoking, and then they start transforming, ostensibly in an irreversible way, into animals, into jackasses. And then they can't speak. That hurts my feelings to think about, especially because Pinocchio is the most innocent one. He wants to be a real boy, but not to get too sentimental with you, he really had it all along because he was the most innocent character in the whole movie. He was created by Geppetto, who was only a good-hearted, kindly old man. And then Stromboli comes by and enslaves him. So immediately, if that makes you as depressed... Now, we can get meta with it and say, was this a campaign to make me depressed and traumatized as a kid? I don't know. I don't know who wrote Pinocchio. All right. I know I seem like a really intelligent guy and I know things like the literary devices in Pinocchio. I know everyone thinks I'm high IQ. But in that, I'm kind of burning out on this one because I think it's already infecting my brain. But that's a very poignant image of what I think that the theys that are out there are doing, and the why they're doing it is because there's nothing you can do worse to an enemy a geopolitical enemy or a spiritual enemy than to take the most precious thing belonging to their community, which is the children, and to steal them, corrupt them, destroy them.
Yeah, get them really interested in trains, planes, and automobiles.
The best of us were interested in trains, like obsessively interested in trains when we were kids.
Those are the ones that are going to lead us to victory.
Let's do a quick public service announcement. If you're listening to the Cursed World Problems podcast and you recall being obsessively interested in trains when you were a kid,
we want you on our team.
We want you on our team.
We're assembling a team.
We're assembling an elite team of train enthusiasts. If you watch Thomas the Tank Engine,
if you were a picky eater, a really picky eater,
screaming and kicking and throwing things.
Yeah, so let's lighten it up a little bit. I mean, just to recap, they target your kids in all these different ways. What can we do about it? Be careful what they watch. Be willing. And this is one it's hard to say because it's a real battle. It's a real thing. It's a real difficult thing to do, but you have to draw your lines, and you have to be willing to stand your ground even when it makes you look stupid or overbearing or annoying or whatever. You need to be able to tell anybody who has contact with your kids that they don't do this. No, we don't do this. We don't watch this movie, or he doesn't eat this stuff or whatever. And I think that there's too far maybe in that, and there's an argument to be made to like ease up, be a little bit relaxed. It's a constant battle, you know? Mm-hmm. But suffice it to say that protecting your child, your children is of utmost importance, and it's worth being a bad guy sometimes. Yeah. To them, to yourself, to others.
You would think it should go without saying, but some people need that jolt.
Yeah, and so being really selective, again, it's stuff. I don't want to be a hypocrite. We have, whatever, but being very selective about what type of technology they're able to use and when, right? That's an easy one. As the king of your household, it is your job to know what's coming in and out and how those things work. So you're really the first line of defense of your family, whether you're a mama or a dada, and you got to be protective over the stuff that you all watch. Mm-hmm.
It's a simple message.
Be aware
I'm glad that you're saying it, because some people just need a reminder, or people like me. I mean, I can't be a hypocrite yet. I'm just being a hypocrite preemptively because I know it's easier said than done, and you only have so much time and energy and like bandwidth. But I agree, at least from where I'm at. Just because I haven't walked a mile in those shoes yet doesn't mean that the principle isn't true. And I'm humbly submitting also that the world's more dangerous and in more sophisticated ways than it has been in a lot of ways. In a lot of ways, there's nothing new under the sun. In other ways, we never had smartphones before. We've never had...
So when we grew up, that's what we were getting at earlier. Let's go ahead and wrap up with that.
Well, wait. First, before we wrap up with that, people should have kids.
Oh, have kids.
Yeah. All right, next. Moving on.
There's a difference between the way that we grew up and the way that kids are growing up now, obviously, right? But we were talking about it earlier today where we were saying we were cursed. There were things that weren't... If you go far enough back, relatively the whole world was about the same as how their kids were raised. They were more involved in things. If you just picture typical cultures, not the nasty ones, the normal ones.
Yeah.
Kids had a little bit... To some extent, you just picture all these different things, like the moms, it was villages, it was people, moms and aunts and grandmas and little nieces all running around. So the women stayed together. They all raised all the kids all together. So the kids had lots of varying peer experiences. It wasn't just your age and your age and your age. It was older brothers and cousins and younger. They were taking care of each other. There was that. The youngest ones, I mean, you got to think, we've been to Guatemala, and in places like that, you've got 3-year-olds with machetes mowing the yards or the roads so that the weeds don't grow into the roads. You've got You've got 1-year-olds walking around selling bracelets. You've got 6-month-olds
Yeah.
selling
Driving
cigarettes,
cars.
driving cars.
Driving and smoking at the same time. And I've seen it. You've seen this.
But it's a real thing, but it points to that kids are have a lot more potential than we think. They're a lot more capable of doing adult things than we think, and operating and thinking about things. And so this is probably what most cultures were more like, where they had a little bit more. They would go out and do things with their hands and use that dexterity.
Yeah, so you can get that back. You don't have to match the current culture. You don't have to match what the world's doing. You can raise your kids weird, and if by weird you mean like it was in the 1800s, just do it. Just
the amount of stimulation that we had was a lot. There was cartoons and commercials and flashing lights, but it wasn't as much. It wasn't iPads, it wasn't TikTok, it wasn't any of that. And the video games we had were all very physical. Picture a GameCube or a Game Boy or a Nintendo 64. It's like a toy. Nintendo was great about marketing, like it's video games, but it's also a toy. It's colorful buttons. It's something you carry in your pocket. It looks cool. Looks like if it were shrunk down, you'd want to pop it in your mouth. And it was family oriented and it was social oriented. So us playing Mario Kart next to each other, we were able to talk. We were able to talk smack the entire time.
Yeah.
Learn from each other. It was a very social thing, and now it's just not. And so
I went to my friend's house when I was a kid, and he had way more games than us. He had a Nintendo 64. He had GoldenEye.
Donkey Kong Country.
Yeah, I don't really play Donkey Kong Country, but I played GoldenEye with them, and they gave me the broken controller, but didn't tell me. So my GoldenEye guy was in like slow motion. He couldn't run fast, so they would like find me and shoot me, and I'd be like, "Why isn't mine running?" And I would like get panicked about it, and no one would tell me like, "You got the broken controller." They just laughed and didn't explain, and they just keep killing me. But you know what?
But
that's how you learn.
There's
to
camaraderie
be
in that. There's
yeah.
There's good lessons in there.
Yeah, I think they did it because they liked me. I think really when I think back on it, I think they did it because I was like the most like just cool and popular.
And they were trying to get you to be tougher.
They wanted me to like them. They wanted me. Really, they wanted me to like them, and they looked up to me a lot, I think. And that's how come they would go and play different games to get me.
They would say, "We'll play hide and seek.
Having.
You stay here. We'll come and find you."
Anyway, tangent, but GoldenEye, Mario Kart 64, Ocarina of Time. If you just want to watch someone else play for hours and just get zoning on that. These are the things. There's a complexity to them. They were cool, and they were like 3D graphics, and it was like the next.
They also
generation
weren't
of
so
gaming.
baby. They also weren't so baby. Like you had puzzle solving that is hard for me now.
Banjo-Kazooie is one of the hardest games I've played.
I would not
as an
have. I just
adult.
beat Banjo-Kazooie about a
right,
year
okay.
ago.
You don't have to. lie to impress
I
us.
would not have been able to beat it if it weren't for like the new, like you can save it and pause it right where you are and save it. It wasn't like that before. You had to go back and start at the beginning of the freaking witch's mouth castle. Every single time you turn the game off and turn it back on, every single time you die, you start back at the beginning. I would not have. I truly, if somebody said you get $100 if you can beat this game, I would not have been able to do it.
Yeah.
So. It's just it speaks to I think successive generations are getting less and more babied, I guess. That's a thing. That's one curse that you can reverse. I don't know. We're losing steam, but I think it was important to kind of talk about how we had a different experience than what they're going to have. But there's some things remain true. Kids are always going to act a certain way around each other, and there always is going to be hierarchy. There's always going to be certain things that are built into the system. I don't think you can get rid of or get around.
Kids are awesome, and they're resilient too. So just to reverse that black pill a little bit, because there's a lot. If you think about it and you choose to take a black pill, I hope the mics are. What kind of mics are these? This is.
What's that?
What are you saying?
You're still. It really bothers you whenever we talk about dark things.
Don't do this right now. So,
Oh yeah, we did talk about that at the beginning. We try not to tell Justin about.
yeah, they try not to tell me things. Like if we lose a subscriber, Colin and Kevin don't tell me.
Yeah.
Sometimes they actively spend all day making sure I don't check the YouTube.
Yeah.
Yeah. But what was I saying? The black pill potential, when you talk about kids and when you talk about the kids are cursed and the world's cursed, etc., the black pill potential is off the charts. But let me just temper that a little bit with the fact that kids are resilient. Remember all the crap that you went through and all the horrifying things. And some kids had really bad childhoods. We were very blessed. Other people that we know that are functioning members of society, they're kind, they're good Christians, had horrifying things. But that's just the nature of the Lord, though, is to take and reverse and to heal and to turn something what you meant for evil, God meant for good. I love quoting that verse because it's happening all the time everywhere. The Lord's always heading off man's will, and just not his will, but his shortcomings and his mistakes and his. We ask for forgiveness of our sins, pardon of our sins, voluntary and involuntary, known and unknown. There's a lot of unknown and or involuntary sins that affect children, and it's like if we don't all walk on eggshells and do everything so perfect and white knuckle it for the duration of their childhood, then maybe it'll screw them up. We know that that's not. We know that the black pill is not the ultimate bottom line, so that bears mentioning. The world's bad, but you should still have children, and you should pray for mercy for raising them, and then you should also at the same time learn to recover whatever that sacred thing is that entails or is entailed by Christ's words that you must become like little children or else you cannot inherit the kingdom. So to get at that, I don't think we have another hour to dive deep into that, but something to think about, something to pray about, meditate on, speak with your spiritual father about, to seek the wisdom of the saints and the fathers about what does that mean? How can we be as little children? And how do we raise this next generation of kids to reverse the curse? Did my camera just give out? Oh, Collins did. That was wild. What?
That's it. Oh, well, I thought we were done.
No, just cutting, going to black there. Okay,
I'm fine with that.
Well, we can. Oh, so we just don't say anything at the end. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Bop that freaking subscribe button. Hit the bell. Like the button. Like the buttons. Like the comments.
Don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to like. Don't forget to subscribe.
Comment on the comments to the comments. And like that subscribe.
And follow our Instagram. We don't have hardly any followers on our Instagram.
Please, we don't have no
and Twitter. We like Twitter the best. That's where we're spending most of our time.
X.com, baby.
Check out Instagram because we may do more lives and things like that, just like behind the scenes Instagram type stuff.
And we're always re-Xing hilarious X's on X.com.
And that's it.
And that's it. So we're going to I don't know if they're going to be links or what, Colin. You're the little voodoo grand wizard of the computer stuff. So
I'll do something.
Put something on there.
I'll put those links on there.
And thank you guys for following along with us. It's actually truly been quite a privilege these last.
The next episode is going to be our last episode, so look forward to that. It was a good run. It's just not for us. We're not really cut out for it.
I just don't I'm not having a good time if I don't.
Every time that it's all an act.
I don't want to be here.
Every time that we're laughing and hollering
and scoot bopping around. All right, well, take care.